Titanfall was an ambitious project. This is the launch game from a new studio. Even though some of the people had worked on the Call of Duty games, which are very successful, Respawn Entertainment, pretty much reputation was on the line. Well, not reputation. I don't know how to describe it. Pretty much, if Titanfall was a flop, I don't think we would have seen much more of this company. And it was an ambitious project, as I said. Being able to combine all these features, mechs, all this parkouring, everything, while keeping the game balanced, was going to be a long, tedious, and complex task. But they managed to pull it off. Titanfall is a great game, very well balanced, and definitely cements Respawn Entertainment as a competitor in this market. And I can't wait to see what else they come up with. It does have a few flaws, but overall this is a very solid game, so let's delve into the review. Titanfall is a 6-on-6 multiplayer only shooter. Because it's multiplayer only, the single player people can't enjoy it, which is kind of a downer, but, you know, not that big of an issue. Most people who have an Xbox probably do have an Xbox Live and Gold. And if you don't, well, you might have to get one. A lot of good features with Gold. Anywho, it's 6-on-6, as I said, but the game actually feels a lot larger than it is, because in addition to fighting the pilots, which are other players, you fight grunts and specters, AI-controlled bots, that also add to the score in the attrition game mode, which is pretty much the same as Team Deathmatch. This allows new and people who just aren't good at first-person shooters to still contribute to their team. And it adds a dimension to the battle. It feels more like a real battle, not like squad-on-squad combat in Call of Duties. And that's a major plus in my opinion. Being able to allow the newer people to still contribute is something that is really cool. Although you still get more points for killing pilots. Now on this topic, we should get into the game modes. There's around 6 game modes, pretty much very different from each other. There's attrition, pretty much the standard team deathmatch. You kill enemy players and you get points. There's capture the flag, self-explanatory. Last pilot and last Titan standing, which pretty much, that's also self-explanatory. You kill, once you die, you're out. Your team has to survive. There's hardpoint domination, which pretty much you have to capture 3 points and hold them. You definitely have to capture 2 in order to get your edge over the opponent, but you have to capture and hold points. And then Marked for Death, which is a relatively new game mode, which I should mention that Respawn is constantly updating this game with free maps, which is something we do not see much at this day and age, sadly, with these types of games. Marked for Death is a new game mode. 1 player on your team and 1 player on the opposing team are marked. You have to defend your marked pilot while killing the opponent's marked pilot. It's a very fun, very interesting game mode, and there's probably a couple others I haven't touched on. Well, I can't remember them all off the top of my head. Now pilots, it's player controlled, but I don't know what I'm getting at with this. Anywho, Titans are mechs. Now this is not Call of Duty with mechs, so I should point this out now. There's a lot of balanced features here that make it so a pilot can take down Titans easily, but Titans can also have counters to pilots, and there are counters to counters, blah 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 blah. Now you get Titans start on a counter. At the beginning of the match, you'll have a counter. Once that counter is up, the 0, you'll get a Titan. You can drop it into the battlefield, and you can either have the AI control it, or you can pilot it manually. Now, by getting hits and killing other pilots, or grunts or specters or whatever, you can cut down time on Titan. This allows good people to get their Titans faster, but also allows newer people who aren't good at this game to still get Titans eventually. So it's not like a kill streak or anything. And Titans are very well balanced. There are 3 types of Titans chassis. The Strider, which is the fastest and most agile of the bunch, but the weakest in terms of fire, in terms of taking hits. The Atlas, which is the starting Titan, very well balanced, but not specialized in anything. And the Ogre, which is the tank of the group, can take the most damage, but is the least agile. Now, these Titans are not tanks. They can't take as much damage as you think. If you run into a battle with a Titan, you're going to get exploded, especially if there's multiple enemy Titans fighting you. You'll be surprised at how fast even an Ogre will go down against multiple well-skilled Titan pilots equipped with high-powered weaponry. Not even high-powered, even 40mm cannons, which is pretty much a starting weapon, can still deal a lot of damage rapidly. So you still need to strategize as a Titan pilot. Working together with your team is pretty important. But like most shooters, is not required. You can still play this game very effectively without communicating with your team at all. I would like to see something that would force teams to communicate, like repair units and medical units that will force a team, little features like that that'll force a team to work together more to survive. But, well, we don't really see that much in shooters nowadays, so we'll just get on with it. What was I getting at here? Yeah, Titans, very powerful. They can also take down, as you expect, pilots easily with their cannons, chain guns, or just stopping them and punching them in the face. Or the Titan punching them into oblivion. But Titans have pilots have counters to Titans. They carry anti-Titan weaponry, which are like rocket launchers, micro-missile launching assault weapons, charge beams. They can take down a Titan relative. They can do some severe damage to Titans. They can also rodeo Titans. That gets on their back and uses their primary weapon to shoot the Titan, causing immense damage very rapidly. The Titans do have a counter to this. Electronic smoke is an unlockable ability that Titans can deploy to kill pilots in the vicinity, as well as anything else. Very useful. But, like I said, if you're alone, pilots can easily rodeo you. And electronic smoke does take the place of some more cool abilities, like the Vortex Shield, which allows you to absorb and redirect enemy fire. Now, while on the topic of this, we might as well get into loadouts. There are 5 loadouts you can maximize to unlock for both Titans and pilots. Obviously, as you get more levels, you unlock more loadouts. And also, once you play a game mode 5 times in the latest update, you unlock 2 new specific classes that you can customize for that game mode. That applies to both Titans and pilots. Now, there's not as many guns as in like Call of Duty or something, but they're more specialized. Like, you have an assault rifle. You don't have 5 assault rifles with mildly different stats. You have 1 assault rifle, maybe 2 or 3. You have 1 machine gun. You have 1 sniper rifle. You have 1 marksman rifle. 1 shotgun. So it pretty much means you're not going to fight people with like 5 different weapons of the same type. Like, it's kind of like more realistic. It's like standardized. Like, and this you have standard make more sense. Standardized ammunition, standardized guns, so people can share ammo. This doesn't really make anything in the game, but it adds more realistic backstory. Instead of like having the 6 guys in your team having carry completely different weapons with like different attachments and everything. Although this diversity does get a little lower in like some other things, like sidearms. There's only 3 sidearms. There's usually around between 4 to 6 things for each ability, for each slot in a loadout. That includes primary weapons, anti-Titan loadouts, the Titan main guns, ordinances, special abilities for that class, and a few other things. These loadouts are immensely diverse, and each weapon is severely well balanced. Sniper rifles are very low rate of fire, and unless you're aiming and have some skill, they're not really useful, as you've probably seen in my Let's Randomly plays of Titanfall. But once you max them, they can be very deadly weapons. Shotguns, very effective at close range, not so much longer. Assault rifles, very good all-around weapons, not specialized. Pretty general stuff, but it's very well balanced. The only thing that's kind of an issue is the Smart Pistol. A primary weapon that's capable of locking on to targets. This pretty much acts as an aimbot and makes some people upset, but the weapon is balanced to say. It takes forever for that thing to lock onto a pilot. You're going to get killed before, or you might as well just shot him with a primary weapon before that thing will lock on. Aiming without that auto lock is kind of difficult too, so you need to specialize in that. All weapon is great for mopping up grunts and specters. A group of specters will still kill you. Overall, the thing is good as a clean weapon, not the best as a primary, and taking the primary slot, you'll only have your other pistol for other engagements, and sometimes you can't switch to it fast enough. It's kind of an iffy thing, but if you think about it, it is really well balanced. Now, the multiplayer in this game, like I said, very well rounded. There are so many things on the thing. You can hack turrets with a hack knife, and even hack enemy specters to turn on your... There's also something called burn cards. Burn cards you get around level 8, I'd say. You start off with 1 slot, but you can later upgrade to 3. Burn cards you can use during a match to give you special things like an amped weapon or more XP, some time off a Titan build time, or a core charge. Each Titan has a specific core that will charge on the same way as you would get the Titan. The same timer getting hit would decrease it. And they have a special ability like a damage core, shield core, or dash core. Those are the three cores you can use. Each is tailored to a certain Titan class. Burn cards can do things like that. You get them pretty easily. You'll often find yourself full-on burn cards. They are very useful and really add an edge to the game, but there are a few that are kind of OP, like being able to drop in a Titan at the beginning of the match. That is very OP. Without any Titans, you're going to be pretty well screwed. That's how it's like. The opposing team is able to get their Titans on the field first. The other team's going to have a lot of issues before they can get their Titans out. And even if they do, they're going to have problems because their Titans are going to get overwhelmed very fast. That's one issue I have with the game. Now, from what I said, this sounds like the perfect game, right? Well, there is one major issue with this game. The campaign is completely and utterly worthless. It's the most embarrassing excuse for a campaign that ever exists. They even made it so you don't have to play the campaign and unlock the other two straight Titan chassis. You can get them at certain levels now, which is good because the campaign is. Why did Respawn even bother adding it? It is literally 8 per faction, both for the IMC and the Militia, the two factions in the game. 8 reskin missions. There are pretty much set maps set to either attrition or hardpoint with a little extra dialogue. I gave up halfway through the Militia campaign because I was ready to pull my hair out at this piece of crap. Seriously, this game would have done better without it. It's just an embarrassing excuse for the thing. Not to mention, since we have all the problems of multiplayer, people can drop in the middle, they don't get the full story, not that there's really much to it anyway. And the ending, I haven't even gotten to the ending. From what I've heard, it does not get any better. This campaign is a failure the entire way through. It's multiplayer only. They're going to make the campaign completely and utter shit. They should have at least done it single player so people can actually get what little story there is. Not to mention, no matter what happens in the game, whether you crush your opponent, you win by a small amount, you lose by a small amount, or you get crushed, the campaign fixes on who wins. Doesn't matter what you do. It just says, even if you win by a large amount, the other side was supposed to win, they win. What the hell is that? I honestly think Titanfall Respawn Entertainment should just remove that from the game entirely. It's not even worth it. Nobody would miss it. Nobody. Unless you're into like certain missions, like you'd want to play on this certain map with this certain mode every time. As a certain faction. What in high hell was Respawn thinking when they added that? It's the biggest and pretty much really the only major downer of the game, but it brings it down by a large amount. Now we go to pros and cons. The pros of the game, very, very well balanced with very few issues. There's plenty of customization, but it's all specialized, as I said. There's not a million different choices for the same thing. What am I trying to say? The game is pretty much allows new and bad players to still get acclimatized and contribute to the game. Well, the more experienced players, well, they might make face, but they might lose because the new players are getting all the guard kills and things of that nature. The burn cards add a really good dimension to the game. Major cons of the game: multiplayer only. That kind of limits the amount of audience they'll have. The campaign is completely, utterly worthless. Not even bother adding. I mean, those are some of the major issues with the game, in my opinion. It's a very, very good game, but honestly, if they ever make another game like this, another multiplayer only game like this, either don't bother putting the campaign in, or put some work into it, for Christ's sake. This is really just a tacked on piece of shit. That's what it is. I'm not a big guy on swearing like that, but I have to tell the truth. That's what it is. Piece of garbage. No lie. So, if they had put a lot of work into the campaign, this could have easily been a 10 out of 10. There are very few issues beside this. If they had not even put the campaign in, I probably wouldn't have complained much. It's a multiplayer only game. Nobody expects a campaign. It would have pissed off a couple of people, but what? That's why I have to give this game an 8 out of 10. It's still a great game and a definite buy. The campaign is only a small mishap in compared to the multiplayer of this game with pretty good replayability, but the fact that that's even in the campaign, that's a major issue in my opinion. And Respawn Entertainment should definitely either put more work into their campaigns or screw them if they're going to keep making a game like this. It's not worthwhile. And that sums my review. So remember to drink some lemonade, pick up a controller, and have a good time. Peace out, peoples.